Good morning and welcome to your first maths lesson live from my living room. Today we are learning about the coordinates in the first quadrant. So in a moment you can pause this video. I'd like you to think about three questions. Those questions being, find the origin on the graph. So on this graph, where is the origin? Question 2 would be, find the x and y axis. So where again on this graph are the x and y axis? And question 3, I would like you to think about which number represents the y coordinates in 5, 7. So does the 5 represent the y coordinates, or is it the 7 that represents the y coordinates? Pause the video now and have a think. Okay, so the answers to those questions. The origin is this point here where you have the 0. It is where the two axes meet at a point. That is the origin. For labelling the x and the y axis, the x axis is the one that runs horizontally along the bottom, and the y axis is the one that runs vertically up the side. So we have the y axis and the x axis. As for the third question, which number represents the y coordinates, I always like to think along the corridor, up the stairs. So the x coordinate at the x-axis represents that first number 5, and then the y-axis represents the 7. Okay, so we want to describe the position of this blue x when I place it in the quadrant. So if I place the blue x just there, we're going to use those axes to help us describe where the position is. So we're going to describe it with coordinates. You work your way along the x-axis first, and then you work your way up the y-axis to describe the position. So the first number is described on the x-axis, so you work your way along until you get to that blue x, which is there. So that first number would be 4. Then the second number is represented on the y-axis when you go up the stairs. So we've gone along the corridor to the 4. Now we're going to go up the stairs, up the y-axis to find the next number. So if we work our way up, we reach 8, which is where the blue x is. So 8 will be our second number, showing us that the coordinates to describe the position of that blue x are 4, 8. Okay, so now that we've had a little introduction to coordinates and the first quadrant, I have placed a blue X on a place in the quadrant. I would like you to pause the video and have a think about what the coordinates are for that X. So if you pause the video now and have a think. Okay, so if you remember what I said before, I like to think along the corridor and then up the stairs. So if we go along the corridor to the point where that blue X meets, we will get to the 3. That tells us that the first number is 3 for our x-axis, and then we go up the stairs on the y-axis until again we meet that blue cross, which tells us that it is a 4. So the coordinates for the blue cross are 3, 4. I'm going to place a few more crosses on the quadrant, and I would like you to pause the video again and have a think about what those coordinates are. Okay, so there are 4 more crosses on that quadrant. Have a think, what are the coordinates, and you can pause the video now. Okay, so if we start with the black cross, along the corridor we get to 1, up the stairs we get to 3. So that means that we have 1 for our x-axis, and then we have 3 for our y-axis. If we go to the green cross, you'll notice that it is 1 along again on the x-axis. and then up the stairs we come to 8, which shows us that the y-axis is 8. So our coordinates for the green cross are 1, 8. If we have a look at the yellow cross, we go along the corridor and we reach 6, we go up the stairs and we reach 5. So our yellow coordinates are 6, 5, along the corridor to 6, up the stairs to reach 5. And finally we are on the red cross. Now the red cross can be quite tricky because it's not necessarily within the centre of this quadrant. It is actually sitting on one of the axes. So if you go along the corridor first, you find that the red cross is at 6. So 6 is the number for our x-axis. But then when you go up the stairs, it doesn't actually go above 0. It doesn't reach 1, doesn't go any higher, which tells you that the red cross is on 0 for the y-axis. So the coordinates for the red one are 6, 0. If you got all of those correct, well done, you can have a credit. So I have 2 more crosses, and I'm going to place them in this quadrant again, and I would like you to pause the video and have a think about what is the same about their position if you were describing it. So I'm going to place this one here, and I'm going to place this one here. Have a think about what is the same about these. Okay, so if we write down the coordinates, for the red cross we can start, we'll go along the corridor to 2, and then if we go up the stairs we reach 5. So our coordinates for the red cross are 2, 5. If we do the green cross, again along the corridor, 8, and then if we go up the stairs we reach 5 again, so it is 8, 5. Hopefully you've noticed that the y-axis is the same because they are both on that y-axis. It doesn't matter where you put the crosses along here, as long as they run along there, they will always be a 5 in the y-axis. If I move the crosses, I'd like you to do the same and have a think about what is similar about them this time. So if we place this one here, and we will place that one there. Have a think about what is similar about these this time. So you can pause the video and do that now. Okay, again, if we write down the coordinates for these, if we start with the green cross, along the corridor we get to 4. And then up the stairs we get to 2. So the coordinates for the green cross are 4, 2. If we look at the red cross, we go along the corridor. Again, we're at 4. And then we go up the stairs, up that y-axis, we reach 7. So just like with previous, where the y-axis were the same, this time you should notice that the x-axis are the same, and they are both 4. So it doesn't matter where on here your crosses would be, the x-axis would always be 4. Okay, so here we have a little bit of a challenge. We have a green cross which has the coordinates 4, 6. We have a red cross which has the coordinates 12, 10, and we have a yellow cross with no coordinates whatsoever at the moment. So I would like you in a moment to pause the video and have a think to see if you can work out what the coordinates for this yellow cross would be, using any information we have here already, because we don't have any information other than we know this is the y-axis and we know that this is the x-axis. There's your origin. Other than that, we've only got the information here. There are no numbers along the x or the y-axis. So see if you can work out what this is. Pause the video now. Okay, so I can see that the green cross and the yellow cross are on the same line, which tells me the green cross has the same y-axis as the yellow cross. So if we just work out roughly where this is, we think along the corridor up the stairs. So the x-axis comes first, which means that here is a 4 for the green, and then up the stairs for the y-axis, the green is on 6. So as I said, we can see that this green and yellow cross are on the same line, which means that the yellow cross is on the y-axis at 6. If we go over to the red cross and we work our way along the corridor, we can see that the red cross is here, which means that the 12 for the x-axis would be here. If we work our way up the stairs to the red cross, for the y-axis, it will be represented by the 10. So we have 12 for the x-axis and 10 for the y-axis, like we have 4 for the x-axis and 6 for the y-axis. So you should be able to see that the yellow cross here, if we go along the corridor, is at 12. So we can fill that in now as 12. And then if we go up the stairs on the y-axis, we can see that the yellow cross is at 6, which tells us that this is a 6. So even though there were no other numbers on our axis, using the information we had, we were able to work out that the yellow cross is at coordinates 12, 6. These points actually make up a rectangle. So here's another chance for you to pause the video and see if you could work out where the fourth point, the fourth vertex for this rectangle would be. So have a think, where on this quadrant would be the fourth vertex of this rectangle? Pause the video now. Okay, so we're going to work out that missing vertex to find out the coordinates. So now, things we know about rectangles are that they have opposite sides of equal length. So I'm going to join these 2 points up first using not a ruler, because I completely forgot to bring one home from Oakfield. So instead we're using my trusty spirit level, so I have absolutely no excuse for getting wonky lines. So we have our first 2 lines. We should know that because they have sides of equal length on opposite sides, that this will go up here and that will go along there. So we should see that this point and this point will be on the same line on the y-axis, and this point and this point will be on the same line for the x-axis. So if we work our way along the corridor, along the x-axis, and then up the stairs on the y-axis, we should be able to work out our coordinates. So along the corridor, this point is on 4 for the x-axis, which tells me that this will be a 4. And then if we go up the stairs to that point, where they are both on the same line, they are on 10, which tells me that this is 10. So the missing vertex here is 4, 10 in coordinates. And hopefully you should notice that the 10 and the 10 here are the same because they are on the same line. The 4 and the 4 here are the same because they are on the same line. The 6 and the 6 here are the same because these are on the same line. And then the 12 and the 12 here are the same because they are on the same line as well. If you got that correct, well done, you are an absolute superstar and you can have another credit. When you send your work in to me, let me know how many credits you've got and I will keep adding them to a list so that when we do hopefully get back to Oakfield, you can have some certificates for all the credits you have earned during your home learning. Okay, you're now ready to start doing your worksheets. So underneath this video there will be a document with the worksheets in. I would like everybody to have a go at worksheet 1, which looks like this. And I would like everybody to have a go at worksheet 2, which looks like this. Once you've finished these two worksheets, there is a challenge sheet called Challenge 1. If you found these first two worksheets really easy, then I would suggest skipping Challenge 1 and going straight to Challenge 2. However, if you found those first two sheets quite tricky, then you can do Challenge 1 first, and then if you want to have an extra challenge, you can go to Challenge 2. There will also be another document underneath the video with the answers to these questions, so you can mark them yourselves, and then when you send me the worksheets, I can see how well you've done. Good luck and have fun with your learning. I will see you soon with the literacy video.